Hello, today we're going to be doing the Algebra 1 June 2024 Regents short response questions. In the previous video, we did the multiple choice question. You can check that out on this channel. And now we're going to do the short answer questions, or part 2. Okay, the first question is solve this expression algebraically. Okay, in this question, what I like to do is just copy down the expression or what they're asking you. So I just copy down the whole thing. And the main goal of these type of questions is to get x by itself. So first, I'm just going to distribute this side. So I get 5x minus 10 less than or equal to 3x plus 20. Now, I see that I'm just going to do it like this. I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides because if I subtract 5 on both sides, it's going to be a negative 2x. So it's just going to be 2x. Oh, sorry about that. It's going to be 2x minus 10 is less than or equal to 20. Now we do plus 10 plus 10. And you get 2x is less than or equal to 30. Now you just divide by 2 on both sides, and you get x less than or equal to 15. And that's going to be your answer. Okay, next question, 26. So, you have given this function, evaluate g of negative 3. So, as we see, I'm just going to copy it down. G of x is equal to x cubed plus 2x squared minus x. G of negative 3 means that x is negative 3. So G of negative 3, you just plug in the negative 3 where the x is. Negative 3 cubed plus 2 times negative 3 squared minus negative 3. Negative 3 cubed is going to be negative 27 plus negative 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. And then whenever you have a minus a negative, it's going to be plus 3. So when you evaluate that, you're going to get negative 6. And your final answer is negative 6. And given the relation, set a value for x that will make this relation a function, and then explain why it is a function. Okay, so this is more of a definition type question. A function is a set of values where each y value gets an x value. The x values don't repeat. So the x values in this function is -1, 0, -2. So x can be anything other than -1, 0, or -2. So we could, for example, just put, I don't know. So for example, we could just put 3, and that makes this relation a function. So for the explanation, you can write that next question. A survey of 150 students was taken. It was determined that 2/3 of the students played video games. Of the students that play video games, 85 also use social media. Of the students that do not play video games, 20% do not use social media. Complete the frequency table. Okay, so this is like a statistics type question. So we have given that of the students who play video games, 85 use social media. So those who play video games is 2/3 of 150. 2/3 of 150, you can do this on your calculator, is 100. So of those who play video games, the total of people who play video games is 100. Now, you already know that that makes this 50 and this makes 150 because the total survey sample was 150, so that means the total is 150. We know that 85 who play video games also use social media. So that means the 85 goes here because social media and video games falls in this category. So now we can even fill out no social media because 100 minus 85 is 15. That's what makes 100 the total. Now, the next part of this is of the students who do not play video games, 20% do not use social media. So, students who do not play video games is 50. 20% of them do not use social media. So, to find 20% of that, you convert this to a decimal, multiply by 50, and you get 10. So, no social media, who do not use social media, and do not play video games is 10. With that, we can figure out that 40 goes here because 40 plus 10 is 50. And now we can fill out the rest. 85 plus 40 is 125, and 15 plus 20 is 25, and this makes sense because that equals to that. Use the method of completing the square to find the exact value of x. You bring this to the other side, so plus 30. Now you have x squared plus 10x is equal to 30. Now, you want to complete the square, so you do 10 divided by 2, which is equal to 5, squared, which equals to 25. So now you're adding 25 on both sides. So you got x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to 55. And remember, what you do on this side, you always have to do on this side. That's why we're adding 25 on both sides, to make the equation equal on both sides. Now, to complete the square, we just factor this. So what number added to itself is 10 and multiplied by itself is 25? It's 5, this value that we get. So x plus 5 squared is this equation, is equal to 55. Now, what you have to do is you have to solve for x. You square root both sides because to get rid of this squared, you have to square root. So if you square both sides, you just get x plus 5 is equal to the square root of 55. Now you subtract 5 on both sides, and you get x is equal to negative 5 plus minus the square root of 55. That is you factoring. That is you completing the square for this equation. Factor this completely. And with these questions, what I just like to do first is I like to find the common factor and common variable. So we know that there's an x, and we can only use one x because this only has one x. So we're going to have an x right here. And what factor is common between both of them? It's going to be 5 because you have 1 times 20, 4 times 5. And then you have 1 times 45. And you also have 5 times 9, and it's going to be 5. So 5x, this can be 4x squared minus 9. That can be factored even more. These two numbers are perfect squares. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. But we have a negative 9, so it's going to be a negative 3 and a positive 9. So we're going to just copy this down, and we have 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. Because it's going to be a negative 9, it's going to have the same value as this. So this is our completely factored equation. And just to check our work, we're going to actually factor it. So let's start with this. 2x, we're going to distribute it, and then we're going to distribute this amongst that. So it's going to be 4x squared minus 6x plus 6x minus 9. Now we have 4x, and we also carry down the 5x. And we have negative 6x plus 6x is 0, so we're left with this. And now we can factor this even more. We got 20x cubed minus 45x. And this obviously matches on to this So that means our correct answer is this. Okay, the next question is going to be part 3. Number 31, graph the following system of equations in the set of axes below. So what I think the best way to solve this is to use your graphing calculator. So when you plug them in, you click graph and you click second graph, and this is your table. And now you take these points and you graph them on your paper. Okay, first I'm gonna do this one, the quadratic. We have 0, -6. So 1, plot this point down. Then we have, or I'm going to start with the negatives. We have -1, -2. So this is our first, and remember to draw your arrows. This is our first equation. I'm just going to put it as, label it because labeling is important. Now I'm going to do the next one. The next one, I think I'll just start it off with the 0 again. It's going to be 0, -1. Obviously, you're going to be doing this on paper, I think, and it's going to look neat. Oof, you're going to have a ruler, and it's going to look neater. I'm just going to do my best with this line. Obviously, you have a paper, you have a ruler. I just don't have a ruler. So make sure you actually do it with a ruler so it looks neat, and you draw the lines neater. Okay, and then this is y is equal to x minus 1. So now state the coordinates of all solutions. So solutions means where do they intersect? They intersect right here and right here. So that's going to be these 2 points. And these 2 points are, in fact, -1, -2, and 5, 4. And that's it. That's your part 3 question number 1. Number 32. The table below shows the amount of money a popular movie earned in millions of dollars during its first 6 weeks in theaters. Write the linear regression equation for this data set, rounding all values to the nearest hundredth. So for this, you actually go to your calculator. So on your calculator, you're going to go to Stat, Edit, and in your list 1, you're going to put the first row of your data, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then in the second row, you put the second row, which is 1, this, 50, 25, and 5. Make sure that matches on. And then what you do is you go to Stat, Calc, and you go down to number 4, which is linreg, which stands for linear regression line. You click enter, you make sure that your X list is there, and that's all that you're gonna need. And this is what you're gonna get. So yeah, this is more of a calculator question. So A represents the value before the X and B represents the constant. So it's gonna be Y is equal to -37.57. I just like to round. Oh, well, it says to round to the nearest hundredth, so you're going to have to round to the nearest hundredth. X plus 215.67. That is your linear regression line from the calculator. Next, you're going to have to state the correlation coefficient to the nearest hundredth. The correlation coefficient is also on your calculator back with the linreg, and over there it's going to have your A value, your B value, and it's going to have your R value. Correlation coefficient is R. That's the R value. And the R value based on the calculator is it's -0.98 to the nearest hundredth. Then state why the correlation coefficient indicates about the linear bit. So, a correlation coefficient close to -1 or 1 indicates strong. A correlation coefficient close to 0 indicates weak. So this one is obviously very close to 1. So that means the correlation coefficient indicates a strong linear fit for the data. Keyword here is strong. And you could even add a sentence. This is because -0.98 is very close to -1. Next question. Use a quadratic formula to solve the equation. Express the answer in simplest radical form. Okay, the quadratic formula is found in your reference table, which you are going to get. And the quadratic formula is this formula. Okay, so that's the quadratic formula. So now you just plug in the numbers. So if you remember the quadratic equation, oh, and it's on the reference table also, but it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So the a is the a, the b is the b, and the c and the c. So we just plug that in. So negative 10. Remember the negative is separate from the b. Plus minus the square root of -10 squared minus 4 times 3 times 5 divided by 2 times 3. And if you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 10 plus minus square root of 40 over 6. So they want your answer in simplest radical form. So to do your simplest radical form, you're going to want to split up the radical 40. To split up the radical 40, you can use two methods. One is on a calculator and one is just to do it. First, we're going to do it and then I'll show you guys how to do it on the calculator. So you find the factors of 40. You get 140, 2, 20, 4, 10, and you can already stop there because you have found a perfect square, which means a radical 4 is equal to 2. This means that radical 40 is equal to radical 4 times radical 10. And radical 4 simplified is 2. And times square root of 10, that's going to be your simplified radical. On the calculator, you can go to y equals 2 and make sure everything is clear. And you can put whatever value you have, which in this case it was 40. So you can put 40 divided by x, go to the table, and these are your factors. Sorry about that. These are your factors for 40. So this means that 1 times 40 is 40, 2 times 20 is 40, 4 times 10 is 40, 5 times 8 is 40. And these are all your factors, basically. What you want to find is a perfect square. So we see that 9 is a perfect square, but 9 times 4.4444, so that's not going to work. The next one is 4. 4 and 10 works, so that means radical 4 times radical 10 is radical 40. So you could do it in either of those two ways, and you get 10 plus minus 2 radical 10 over 6. So you could even leave this like this and you're still going to get it correct, but what I like to do is simplify it even more. All of these share a common factor of 2, so 10 divided by 2 is 5, plus minus radical 10 because you remove the 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this could be your final answer. It could also be that. It doesn't matter, but I like to do it like this. Next question is to graph the system of inequalities. So first, you wanna change this to a regular y equals 2, and this one as well. So with this one, let's just do it on the side here. 3y plus 2x is less than or equal to 15. And we're gonna do minus 2x minus 2x. We get 3y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 15 over 3 over 3. Y is less than or equal to negative 2 over 3x plus 5. Now, for the next one, I'm just going to copy this down here so it's going to be easier. The next one is going to be y minus x greater than 1. That, we're just going to add the x on both sides, and we get y is greater than x plus 1. So these are your systems. Now, you can go into your calculator and just graph it first. I'm going to do the first one, and the first one is and you don't technically need a calculator for this because you could just use a slope, but you can do it just to check your work. Remember to draw your arrows, and now, because it says greater than, because it says less than or equal to, that means we're going to draw the arrows down. I'm going to make this one green. Label your line. And you could just write the name of it, or you could write this version that you came up with. Now, for the next line, it's pretty simple. It's just 0, 1. Okay, now I labeled it, and we're going to change the color. We're going to make this one yellow. And this one is greater than. Because it's greater than, we're going to shade up. So now, the region where it's shared is, I'm just going to label it S for shared region, is this. Let's make that bigger because that's not big enough. The shared region is S. So now we can just choose a point from S, and that's going to be the correct answer. A point from 4S, let's choose negative 1, 2. Negative 1, 2 satisfies our system of inequalities because it is in the shared region. So to write that, we're going to say negative 1, comma 2 satisfies both. You can also check your work by plugging it in. So the first one, 3y plus 2x less than equal to 15. Y is 2 and x is negative 1. If you plug that in, you get 6 minus 2, which is equal to 4. 4 is less than 15, so that checks off. Then the next one is y minus x is greater than 1. 2 minus negative 1 is greater than 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, which is greater than 1, so that checks off. And that is all you need for this question. The last and final part of the short answer questions is the part 4. Courtney went to a coffee shop to purchase lattes and donuts for her friends. One day, she spent a total of $15.50 on 4 lattes and 2 donuts. The next day, she spent a total of $18.10 on 3 lattes and 5 donuts. All prices included tax. If x represents the cost of 1 latte and y represents the cost of 1 donut, write a system of equations that can be modeled that can model the situation. So, x is the latte and y is the donut. 15 for 4 lattes and 2 donuts, and $18 on 3 lattes and 5 donuts. We're pretty much just copying this down as an equation. So the first one, we could just say, on the first day, she bought 4 lattes, so that's 4x. Added to the 2 donuts, which is 2y, is equal to her total cost that she spent that day, which is $15.50. The next equation is the 3 lattes plus the 5 donuts, which is equal to $18.10, which is her price. Courtney thinks that 1 latte costs $2.75 and 1 donut costs $2.25. Is Courtney correct? Justify your answer. To figure this out, we're just going to have to plug it into both equations. Or if we plug it into one and it works, then it already doesn't work. Let's try the first one. So she thinks that one latte is $2.75 and one donut is $2.25. Is that equal to 1550? So if we just do it, 4 times 2.75 is equal to 11. 11 plus 2 times 2.25 is 4.5. Is that equal to 1550? Yes, it's equal to 1550 because 1550 is equal to 1550. Just because this one works doesn't mean that the other one will work. So we have to check the other one as well. 3x plus 5y is equal to 1810. She thinks that it's 275 for the latte and 225 for that. Is that equal to 1810? 3 times 2.75 is equal to 8.25, and 5 times 2.25 is equal to 11.25. If we add both of those together, we get 19.5, which is not equal to 1810. So Courtney is incorrect. So as long as you have something that she is incorrect and it doesn't satisfy and you showed your work, then you're right. Next is you actually determine the cost of each. So in this case, what you have to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy them down because we're going to have to do stuff with them. And you can go about this two ways. You can either make a common value with y or with x. So I'm going to just do y, and a common multiple with them is going to be 10. So to make the 2 a 10, we have to multiply this whole thing by 5, and to make the 5 a 10, we have to multiply the whole thing by 2. So these become 20x plus 10y is equal to, remember that to multiply the total cost. You can't forget about that because that can change your whole answer. You get 77.5. Now, for this one, it is going to be 2, but we're going to make it negative 2 because we want to cancel out the y's. Because then we're going to be left with x and we can find x. So if we do negative 2, we're going to get negative 6x minus 10y is equal to negative 36.2. Now we add everything together and we get 14x. These two cancel out, is equal to 41.3. Divide by 14, you get x is equal to 2.95. Now you have your x value. Now it's time to find your y value. To find your y value, you could just plug it into one of these. I'm going to plug it into 3x plus 5. Y is equal to 1810. We have the x is 2.95. We don't have the y. So we just do 3 times 2.95, which is going to be 8.85 plus 5y is equal to 1810. Subtract on both sides to leave that by itself. And you get 5y is equal to 9.25 divided by 5 on both sides. And you get y is equal to 1.85. Now you have your two costs. To check your work, you can obviously plug it into one of them, and I think you should, just in case. You get 4 times 2.9. Add them together, you get 15.5, which checks off. So the cost of one latte is cost of $95 and cost $1.85. So this is what gets you your full credit on this question. You mentioned both of these values and you mentioned everything from the previous parts. That is it for the Algebra 1 June 2024 Regent exam. Both videos are out now. This is the short response video. The multiple choice video is already out on the same channel. Make sure to check it out, and make sure to check out our other videos on Regents exams. Thanks for watching.